Bobber, like good day, doctors.
George Allen here. Good day, doctors.
Hey, this is Governor Chris Christie from New Jersey. Good day, doctors.
Go! You're watching Dr. Politics.
Hey, it is welcome everyone. It is Friday, March 15th. First quarter is almost done. So our small business folks get ready to write a big check to Uncle Sam at the end of the month. And then we write another one next month to Uncle Sam. Anyways, but it is Friday. Spring is sprung. The cherry blossoms are out. The tree pollen is out there. And we have officially, like this is any surprise, we have our party's nominees. Representing the Republicans will be Donald J. Trump, and representing the Democrats will be Joe Biden. And so we're off to the races coming this November. So welcome back, Jeff. I know you've been busy running around last couple of months, so welcome back. I think you've been on the show this year in 2024, I think, right? You did the show in 2024.
Possibly. I've definitely had a busy year so far, so.
Yeah. It's busy, but yeah. And Dave, welcome back. Yeah, so we have we got a lot of busy. Lee Zeldin will be in Maryland on next Wednesday, and I think you'd still get a lot of good tickets at aagop.com or .org. Hold on, I will check and I'll tell you guys. It's funny, some parties use org, some use it's aagop.org to get your tickets to go see Lee Zeldin. He'll be speaking Tuesday night at the BWI Hilton, where we had the fabulous salute to Governor Ehrlich. Be a great event. Tickets are very reasonably priced. They've got a student rate of $90, and regular tickets only $125. And VIPs are like $300. There you go. And you get a table for $1,100. Upgrades to VIP for individuals $175. So it's a great time, to be a Republican in Maryland. And then Wednesday night, Baltimore City has Byron Donalds is speaking.
Oh wow!
At the Best Western on O'Donnell Street, right after the tunnel in Baltimore.
That's good.
Yeah, busy weeks coming up. Then Chip Roy is speaking in Queen Anne's County on the 17th of April. A lot of these Lincoln Day dinners are out and rolling already, And then on April 4th, we've got a book event with Governor Ehrlich. And Dave, you should try to come to that event.
Yeah. See
the governor. He's also Governor Ehrlich, Governor Allen, good friends and so on. So.
Oh yeah, a great guy, and I met him years ago. Certainly wouldn't remember, but at NET when he was a congressman. I remember when he was a congressman. And, before he became governor.
And this week we've got a bunch of stuff happening in the news. I'm trying to find my little cheat sheet. So here it is. I found that cheat sheet.
Well, also the big question's got to be, and it could come soon, is the running mate for Trump. Because that could.
I hope he waits until the convention. Not to be superstitious, but every time we've picked our running mate before, like the week of convention, we've lost.
Yeah. But There was an article, I think it's Town Hall, plugging Youngkin of all people. I haven't read it, but I heard a little about it. The reason is that Trump, at least one of the weaknesses may be money, because he's going to burn through a lot of money with the legal cases personally.
Yeah,
And he's going to need someone to raise money.
And for a real quick second, why doesn't he just set up a legal defense fund like Bill Clinton did?
No.
Bill he made out very well with his legal defense fund, frankly.
Yeah. But anyway, even if he has the legal defense fund, I assume that there's a limited amount of dollars on his side to go around. So fundraising could be an issue for him. And Biden's
fundraising across the board is bad for Republicans. The Michigan GOP has had really, really horrible fundraising numbers, and also, I don't know if you heard this week, the RNC, the purges have started with the new leadership, which I don't know what your thoughts on as being a victim of a purge at NET when Bob Sutton and crew took over.
Yeah.
Being one of the first people taken out in the purge. It really destroys morale, one. You're getting with a lot of legacy knowledge. And you bring in brand new people. It takes time to get their sea legs and get them up to speed.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just don't like the idea. I'm not a fan of big purges. I think everything should be done like we years ago acquired a small company, and we didn't just go in there and purge everyone. We basically evaluated them. We asked them if they wanted to stay, and a lot of them said yes. A lot of them said they didn't want to stay. Because you need to have that institutional knowledge. I mean, there was a small contracting firm that won a contract over at this was over years ago over at NIST, and wow,
I saw that. I saw what Craig was saying. Yeah, I saw that.
That's impressive. I know.
That's interesting.
Now everything is coming very clear now. That's for an offline conversation.
Biden's not. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but as I was saying is, I think Barack Obama said the same thing. He's not going to endorse Biden.
Oh, no. Biden's going to use that. You know what he's going to do? He's going to run ads with all these Republican officials that work for Trump that now don't support him. So they're going to use that.
Yeah. And he's also, and we've got, we're now down to a 2-seat majority in the House.
Yeah. Does that include Ken Buck leaving?
That's with Ken Buck leaving. Yeah, Ken Buck is leaving, and I don't know if it's good for, I don't know, it's good for Congress. I think he should stick it out at least. Honestly, I really don't like it when people resign their seats. They need to just, you ran for this job, okay?
Yeah.
Jeff, do you remember Miss Warner from Blair?
Yeah, I think so.
She was the student government advisor, and she made a very good point. Like when people run for student senate, it was you who ran around getting 25 signatures to get onto the student senate. 25 people didn't come running up to you begging to sign your petition to be on the Senate. Just like that. These members of Congress, nobody came begging to them to run for Congress. They went begging for people to vote. They get elected. Then all of a sudden their feelings get hurt or whatever, they decide, oh, I can't finish the job. Especially when you only have a few more months left in your term. Tom Davis did that in 2007. He basically, he was going to run for governor, but he found out, I guess they were going to do a convention. He couldn't win a convention fight. And then Tom resigned his congressional seat because Jerry Connolly had already won it. So it's like, what are you doing? Stick around. Don't leave until your term is over. You got to be there to turn the lights off in the building. As if you remember, Ed Meese made that comment on a 60 Minutes interview. He goes, I'll be here to turn off the lights at the White House when I think it was.
Well, in some cases, it could be almost like a vote of no confidence. I mean, it's leaving early is kind of like, saying that there's nothing else that can be done. Saying, it's. I'm not saying that I support it. I'm just saying it's just another way of making a statement, saying that whether I'm here or not, it doesn't really matter. So it's. I one hand, I do agree that if you can do something useful in Congress, stay around. But if you are like under a lame dunk administration or something, at that point, it's like, what are you going to do? It's like you just get paid to do nothing.
It's been, along with thinking about Ken Buck and the situation there now down to a 2-state minority, it's just been a disaster since they had the battle for Kevin McCarthy and that 11 ballots. It just has been bad. And they're just a bunch of people that, to a large extent, it's like the gang that can't shoot straight. They really are. They're not thinking things out. It's like getting rid of Santos when you probably needed his vote. Yeah, sure, he's got his problems, but let the voters decide to throw him out in the next election. I don't know that they had to get rid of him.
And I think we could have kept that seat if he had just stayed there and then we primaried him.
Maybe. But look at Democrats. They not rallied behind him, but they haven't gotten rid of Menendez in the Senate.
No, they haven't.
This is far worse, and what he's accused of is far worse. Basically, being an agent of a foreign government is what he's accused of.
Yeah. And they didn't do that to Jim McGreevey, nor did they do it to John Corzine. The list goes on and on for Democrats,
Yeah. We could say the Democrats have a history of like rallying for bad leadership.
Yeah. Look at Marion Barry, the mayor for life.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
He went to jail and they still voted for him.
Yeah. I met Marion. I guess I told you that. I've met Marion Barry.
Yeah, we both have over at NET.
I met him at a Christmas party. It was Tom Davis's Christmas party, and I got a picture with him, with Barry. And I almost wanted to use it for like a Christmas card, but I didn't. Have a safe sober year.
He used to do. After America's Voice folded, they had the Renaissance Network, and Genevieve Wood and Marion Barry did a show together called B&W.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
He was a nice guy to me. I was nice to me. He was nice to me. He came over and talked to me and my friend. And so, I mean, he's very personable. He was very personable.
He's a friendly guy. I mean, just like I met Ben Card in Annapolis a few weeks ago. He's a nice guy. He's wrong with every single thing, but he's a nice guy. You could be, as Sean Hannity says, you can be friends with Democrats. You just can't give them power ever.
That's right. As the Bible says, you'll love the sinner, but hate the sin.
Yeah, and then we have, it's just a whole, and I tell you, Republicans really need to unite behind all of our candidates. I'm hearing it from people. Oh, I'm not going to vote for Larry Hogan. I'm saying, hold your nose. I mean, I voted for candidates that did most of. I mean, I held my nose and voted for John McCain. Yeah. I did. John McCain was not my first choice in 2008.
Yeah.
But he became my only choice after he got the nomination, frankly.
Yeah, we'll need the Hogan seat. We need Hogan to win. So, like him or not.
Hogan will be the 51st senator,
so you need Hogan to win. I mean, conservatives got to realize.
I really wish one of your former governors or AGs would have run for that Senate seat in Virginia.
Yeah, we got a bunch of good candidates, but
I think Jerry Kilgore. What is he doing now? Like Jerry is with a DC law firm now.
Yeah, he hasn't been involved in politics a long
time.
His brother is a ranking member of the House Delegates.
His identical twin brother.
Yes, twin brother Terry. And I met the father. The father looks just like him too. They like cloned.
Exactly. You're right, Susan.
Like him, but white hair. But otherwise, it looks just like him.
I mean, Jerry, I know a lot of people beat up on Jerry after he lost, but I mean, everyone beats up on the loser after that.
That's true, yeah.
But no, I think him, even Governor Gilmore, I think Governor Gilmore can win statewide still in Virginia.
I hope, but the state's gotten kind of rough.
Yeah, it has. We had
kind of rough. But well, I mean, I don't know if this is on the agenda or not, but the interesting question that came up earlier, I heard from others, was the Veep stakes.
Yeah.
And who Trump would pick. So it's interesting.
Well, I guess
mentioned.
we've determined it's not going to be Michael.
No, I guess we can safely say that.
I think I hate to say it, the best choice for him for vice president, doesn't mean he'll pick him. I think would be a total slam dunk for him would be somebody like a Ted Cruz who understands Washington.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: do you think there's any chance that Trump may extend an olive branch to like a former presidential candidate like DeSantis or something and try to get him on the ballot?
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
maybe
he
DeSantis.
can't pick DeSantis.
Oh, the Florida thing. They're both from Florida.
They're both from Florida.
Right.
Unless Trump decides to move to New Jersey.
I thought Trump was. I mean, I know he's living there now, but I thought he was a New York resident.
Officially. Yeah, but he switched while he was president to Florida.
Okay.
Because evidently the DA was going after him when he was president.
Well, I know he's got a lot of assets there, but I thought that was his like official residence was in New York still. But I guess I didn't follow that he's actually switched that to Florida.
Maybe a shock people make it Nikki Haley. Imagine if he picks
That's
Nikki.
very possible. Nikki Haley. There's some people that say Vivek Ramaswamy.
Let the media chew over that.
Imagine if Trump were to pick RFK.
No, he's already running, so that won't happen.
Yeah.
And he's getting on ballots. I think RFK is getting on some ballots now.
And by the way, I must say, CNN, Aaron Rodgers was floated as being his running mate.
I heard that.
And what do? They say, oh, he's a Sandy Hook truther. You know, it's like, no, he did not say that. You're just freaking making stuff up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what he said was contradictory to what he said, you know. There are those who say Tucker Carlson may be his running mate. But I think you actually do need somebody with a little bit of experience in Washington that can work with the House and Senate, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
and again, I go back to that, you know, it needs to be someone probably that can more reach out to the center and someone that can raise a lot of money, someone high profile, because money's going to become an issue, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't think just one more point. People talk about Kristi Noem or Elise Stefanik. I don't think they bring that much to the ticket.
Nope.
Really, because you're not going to win New York, South Dakota. Well, yeah, you should win.
You're going to win
anyway. Huh?
You're going to win South Dakota anyways, you know.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah, so I don't know that's bringing much.
I tell you, another. I mean, I remember in 2000 we were having this conversation when I was working for ACU, CPAC, and we had a conversation. We were talking about it, and I go, "What do you think about?" I was talking to she's been there for years. I think she finally retired years ago, but she also worked for Vice President Agnew.
Wow.
This lady, and because she saw my picture of Spiro Agnew, she goes, "That's a real signature." He actually did. And I'm like, "You knew?" He goes, "Yeah, I worked for him at the White House." So did David Keene, evidently, too.
Wow.
But evidently, we were talking. I go, "What do you think about What do you think about Secretary Cheney?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't think he wants to do it." He goes, "Dave's like going fishing with him this weekend." I'm like, and then it's funny. In August, she comes to me. She goes, "Did you know something that we all didn't know, that he picked Dick Cheney as his running mate?" Well, actually, Dick Cheney was in charge of his search committee.
Yeah, that's right.
And he looked around, and he was the best person for the job.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. I guess Bush started to like him, and then I think Bush just said, "Well, why don't you throw yourself in the mix?" So
well, I mean, he was involved with the Bush campaign actually, because Dick Cheney used to live back then. His residence was Texas.
Okay, that's right.
He changed his residency in July back to Wyoming.
Okay.
And as a result, that was the real tea leaves of why how he was going to be, that he was going to pick. But again, President Bush waited until the week of convention to announce that.
But I'll say this about Cheney. He's a very smart guy. And do you remember that debate with John Edwards? He crushed him. I mean, he crushed him.
Oh, yeah.
He destroyed the guy. And so, yeah, Cheney is very smart, though. I may not like his politics all that much, but at times, but very smart guy.
And if you remember, Al Gore, when he had his little debate where he's also sighing and looking at his watch,
Yeah,
because he was getting bored. He made this. He goes, maybe Vice President Cheney, myself, and Joe Lieber have one position, and Governor Bush has a completely opposite position. I think it may have had to do. It was the gay marriage thing, I think, is what it was, or some gay issue.
Okay.
But anyways, it's also been Chuck Schumer is meddling in Israeli domestic affairs.
Yes,
Trying to call for. I mean, really, Chucky, elections in the middle of a war.
And don't they have a wartime government? I thought they had a coalition government.
They
and
do.
the opposition leader, I think, is in the cabinet. Benny Gantz, right?
Yeah. It's like, and it's been 161 days. And I will tell, we should not be pressuring Israel for any ceasefires at all. There should be zero ceasefire. Frankly, this is your opportunity to just dismantle Hamas once and for all. Just at the end of the day, you get rid of them all, and you'll be fine. Don't listen to Crazy Joe.
Yeah. Well, I think in his case, it's just politics. I think Biden generally is pro-Israel, but he's worried about Dearborn, Michigan, and Michigan in general. So I think they're doing what they can to pivot.
Is there that a large enough number that can throw the election to
I wouldn't
Trump?
think so.
I mean, Jeff, you're from Michigan. Is there large Hamas Islamic population?
There's a large Middle Eastern, so there's a lot of people from like the Middle East, like Egypt and Iran and Iraq and those areas there. Not so much, the Palestinian Egypt side that I'm aware of. I mean, I'm sure there is people there, but down to Detroit, like the Northwest Highway areas, is more like Middle Eastern, like the oil country, states. More than like Jerusalem and such, but there are plenty of Jews and such, but there's really not a significant presence like there, like a Chinatown or those kind of things. Whereas with the Middle Eastern, there's certainly a district that's a lot of people there.
One thing I never understood, okay, and this goes for those who come from India as well, right? You come from a warm climate. Why would you want to live in there's a town in New Jersey called Edison, New Jersey, which is like little India. You walk down the street, you think you're in Bombay. And just like that in Dearborn, a very cold climate. Why would you want to live in such a cold climate? Wouldn't you want to go to Florida or?
Yeah, I guess there may be a reason for that. Maybe there was jobs or there's a community and it just built on top of that.
I bet it's a job in the auto industry.
Okay, yeah.
So where it is in Dearborn is not really an auto area. Like it's not like it's near one of the plants or anything. So I think it's more.
Didn't AMC have a plant in Dearborn? The American Motors.
So Dearborn is. I mean, they do have some manufacturing, but it's not like. It's more like I think Ford has some stuff down there, but the GM, for example, is like Flint and Pontiac and other places. But Dearborn it's. I don't know. There's a few like government contractors that make tanks and such in that area, but not so much. I mean, I think there's auto proving grounds there and such, but I mean, there's auto stuff all over the place. But I don't think there's a really strong you don't go to Dearborn just for automotive stuff. So I think it's really just more the community that it's just kind of a formed as a nexus, and people have just kind of moved in there because once people say, hey, it's like word of mouth. It's like we can support you here. And the same thing if you look at any of the immigration things, even like you look at the Irish coming in and has Irish districts and stuff like that, people just start to go to the community. Even like with Armenians, there's a lot of Armenians that are in that area and such because when they had the Exodus, they just kind of all came together and got together and found a community. So I think that's pretty typical, but I don't.
I'm just thinking it's like I'm just thinking if I come from a warm climate, why would I want to live in a cold climate? That's just
Michigan's not like Antarctica. It's like it's a lot like Maryland. It gets a little bit more snow, but it's not like it's that much further north. And if you're the Great Lakes kind of buffer it too. So if you don't like snow, stay away from like Grand Rapids and just east of Lake Michigan. But beyond that, it's you don't get that down Detroit, Ann Arbor, that area there. It's again, it's very much like Maryland.
But yeah, so that that's the Biden people are they're just very worried. I think they see the writing on the wall that it's not their, as Dr. Phil would say, their dog's not going to hunt.
Well, if you looked at the the messages that Biden's putting out, I mean, it's pretty much a rinse and repeat. There's no new messages that they're putting out there. So with the campaign, I can't imagine they have any new messages then, that's going to be compelling. So if they had something new, then that might excite people. But people don't. I mean, the old hasn't really been working. So they've not changed it. So I can't see that there's going to be a compelling draw for either indecisive or new voters. Trump at least will have a message which will, try to stir up things and make a change, which I think people are hoping for. So whether it's the change people want or not, I think people are still hopeful that there's going to be something that's different. That's what's going on, and because we've had 4 years of suckiness, so it's
Biden inflation, shrinkflation, Biden inflation, which leads to shrinkflation. The typical family is spending $1,000 on groceries every month now since the Biden administration. That's something to think about. That's a lot of money. $1,000 is more than a car payment.
Yeah.
What is that? What's an average car payment? $600, $700. On the high end.
Probably.
Well, you look at costs of rent. I mean, rent has gone up like 3 times what it used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to pay. So I used to pay $700 a month when I was in Michigan. When I moved down to here, and of course Maryland is a little more expensive, but I mean, I was paying almost $2,000 a month for rent, and that's anywhere you go. It's again, it's like 3 times what it used to be. So I mean, like 2,100 ish. It's one of those things. It's draining an already strapped economy. And people can barely afford rent. That people are finding ways to pull resources just to get rent, much less food and other resources.
I mean, I'm down to only 7 rental properties now, but the cheapest house I have to rent is $3,100.
A month.
Yeah,
that's probably in like the Potomac area, though, right?
No, that's Silver Spring.
Really, Silver Spring?
Yeah,
that's crazy. Montgomery County, yeah, that seems really high for that area.
Well, over there's a house I have in Four Corners. I'm getting $3,800.
Well, yeah, Four Corners is kind of bordering on on the corridor, so it's not quite there yet, but it's at least it's on the edge.
Well, that's where the other house is too. They're like in Four Corners, Camp Mill, that area. There's one in Bethesda, that's like $4,600. I'm kidding. I mean, it's like insane. I mean, it is. I mean, people are renting out basement apartments for $2,000.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's the rent is just completely skyrocketed. You think the prices of homes have gone up. I mean, price of rent has gone up even more than the price of homes. So homes have doubled in price, but rent has, I think, tripled in price from what I'm seeing. I
mean, look at the price of gas. I mean,
gas has kind of fluctuated. I mean, it's not great. I mean, gas is a little over $3 a gallon.
I mean, I used to be able to fill up my car for about $50. Now it's costing me almost like $70 to fill up my tank. If I let it go down to zero, or close to zero, it's going to be about $70 plus $80 sometimes, depending on where I get the gas. And gas is going back
between like $2.50 to $3. I mean, that's not a great place, but it's not the worst. I mean, when you see it going, $4, even $5 an hour when it was, the height of when gas prices were, that's when people start really changing their habits. I mean, at this price point, it's not great, but in comparison to everything else, with food and everything else, it's really not. If you take the cost of living inflation and factor gas into it, yes, it's gone up, but it's not gone up as much as other things have gone up. the price of gas is not inflated as much as the price of food is inflated, the price of rent is inflated, or cars. I mean, so it has gone up, but the price index inflation of gas is not as bad as what it could be. Nobody wants to pay for expensive gas, and I still support Maryland repealing the gas tax because it's not helping anyone. But that being said, it's again, I would say that it's not the worst thing, but the whole economic system is coming out of control, where it's like, people aren't having enough money to pay for things, and so they're trying to shore up the bottom class of people. Give them increased minimum wage and such, which then, basically makes everything more expensive. So, yeah, and I agree with Susan. Apartments, money pit. But again, if you're starting off, it used to be, out of college, you'd get an apartment, and then work from the apartment, save up some money, and get a house. But you literally cannot save up money if you're getting an apartment. It costs more to get an apartment than it does to house. But you don't have the credit coming out of school. So it's just, we don't have a system to really support our youth. So I'm really concerned about my nephews. I mean, they still live at home because they can't afford to move out. I don't know who else has kids, but I'm guessing most people that have kids have the kids living with them because it doesn't make sense for them to move out.
And it comes down to this, Jeff. Also, it's like, if you remember how things have changed, like growing up, most families, had a stay-at-home mom and the dad worked. You could run a household on a single income. Now, I don't think there's anybody that I know that's got it. That, you've got the mom stays home and both parents work. Because you need that just to get by. Because you need one income to pay your taxes and the other income to live, so to speak. One income is for the bills and the other's for surviving. Frankly, but I think that's gonna weigh heavy on voters this November. You've got housing is too expensive. And I heard the government the other day wants to give out $10,000 to first-time home buyers. First-time home buyers.
Even if they do that, that's not going to do anything. If I had $10,000, it's not even a down payment for a home.
No, it's not. Not even. Yeah.
I mean, the houses where I live. I mean, I told you before, the house across where my sister lives sold for over $600,000, and it was all three offers had escalation contingencies offers on it to basically say that we're gonna if somebody else offers this much, we're gonna automatically escalate our offer to some other amount. And again, it's just those are houses that 4 years ago would be $400,000 maybe.
And by the way, 600 is really becoming the median price in Montgomery County.
But you think about what $10,000 will get you in a $600,000 home, especially with interest rates the way they are right now. It doesn't get you anything. I mean, and it used to be that, fortunately, you can still itemize and take off the interest you're getting, for home as a tax deduction. But that's really the only thing that saves taxpayers is that thing, because, interest rates, last time I checked, were between 6 and 7% for a home. I mean, that's worse than a car. You can get a car APR cheaper than a home, and that just doesn't make sense. And that used not to be the case. I would be surprised before if you get 3-4% APR. I mean,
and you can't live in your car.
I mean, again, it's just one of those things that everyone's profiting, and it's like, I don't know. It seems like it's just not tenable, and while the housing, has slowed as far as getting a new home, it's only slowed because they put the banks have put the brakes on by making it cost so much. But there's no reversal of that. There's no okay, now we're going to try to back up and make it more affordable to first-time homeowners. It's just okay, we're going to put the brakes on, and where we are is not tenable. We're just not going to deviate.
Last week in Montgomery County, you had they were or the week before last, Montgomery County was going to give a tax break for senior citizens who are living in their homes in Montgomery County. What did the county council do? Oh, too many whites and Asians own homes, and all the breaks would be going to Asians and whites. So we're not going to do this. We're going to table this until we can find a more equitable solution. I didn't realize certain seniors are different than other seniors. Wando.
I told you when I heard him say that, I'd never in my life heard anyone talk about a public policy, like tax policy, and then base it on the race of people involved. In other words,
Yeah.
I never in my life, and maybe I'm prone to exaggeration, but in this case, I honestly can't think of a precedent like that.
Yeah, I mean, and you grew up in McLean, similar to the neighborhoods Jeff and I grew up in,
Yeah.
So, and now, like, I mean, back in the days in McLean, $400,000 you could buy a nice house in McLean.
Yeah. No.
I don't think $400,000 will get you a condo in that new building in Tyson's Corner.
Yeah, probably.
But also Bernie Sanders wants to have a 32-hour work week.
Oh wow! Yeah, follow the French.
Yeah, so the French model.
Hey, 32. I mean,
is it working for France?
Evidently.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
They all get to go on vacation. They all get to go on vacation in August, and leave all the old people behind in Paris to die in the unair-conditioned buildings when they have a heat wave. Yeah. You remember that, like from about 10 years ago?
I remember that. Yeah, that was. But
you know that wouldn't work for us. But I would personally, if I was in a government office, I would try to encourage people to work from home as possible. I mean, all people want to go back to work, but I mean, you think about the cost of living. It costs more to drive, and to have a work lunch and those kind of things. You save money just by staying home, and it also makes the roads better. I mean, remember the pandemic roads where you could actually drive the Beltway and get to some place in a reasonable amount of time. And now it's like, I was driving back home, take my dad from Kaiser in Kensington, and it was like 3:30, and the Beltway was like a parking lot. And I'm like, okay,
you should have just.
What's going on?
Yeah, Jeff, you should have just gone up University, taking 29 straight down. That would have been easier.
No, we ended up taking some back roads, and the back roads were all backed up because everyone else was trying to find alternate routes too. So it's like one big miasma, like a swamp. It's like, even though the Beltway is backed up, people that live in the area know all the secondary routes, and those are backed up too.
I know people who, many times when the Beltway's a mess, they will jump off at Georgia Avenue or Connecticut Avenue. They'll take the back roads that takes you through Beach Drive, through Forest Glen, to Forest Glen Road, past Holy Cross Hospital, and then they'll jump on the Beltway at like University Boulevard to bypass messes like that. And what that does to those neighborhoods there is those neighborhood streets get very clogged very fast.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't for like the ICC, I mean, going to any place like in Gaithersburg, that area would just be untenable. But at least, the ICC is
Governor Ehrlich had the
tollway
foresight to get it done.
That actually does help traffic. So, I mean, for me, anytime I can take that, I will, because I don't mind spending a few dollars to actually drive the speed limit. I kind of wish that the Beltway had like an HOV lane or something, but it's so backed up that I don't think it even
Governor Hogan wanted to do that. He wanted to create those HOV type. Well, actually, the Beltway doesn't have HOV, but 270 does HOV. And
sure.
Governor Hogan,
but 270 also has 8 lanes.
Yeah, but it still backs up though. I've been on that.
Oh, sure.
I've gotten stuck on that too. And
I think what they should do, honestly, is what they do with 95 south of Washington, where they have, the toll, the expressway, where you've got lanes that are just, you pay money for, but you
I
do
take
have.
that every time I'm going to Florida. I will take that, and I actually plan to go to Florida when it's southbound, and I return when it's northbound because it makes it so much easier going through that whole. Because I tell you, it has taken me longer to get from Richmond to home than it has from the time it takes me to get from, say, Florence, South Carolina to Richmond.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, thanks to Governor Allen and Governor Gilmore, we have that horseshoe bypass, which is great. I use that a lot. They got this really cool looking bridge that goes over, I guess it's the James River over there in Richmond. You'd know probably better than I would, Dave.
If it's on 295, I mentioned it in my book, in my sequel. I mentioned that.
So what's the name? Is that the James River?
If we're still thinking of the Varina Bridge.
Yep, that's the one.
It's got the center. Oh, well, then you got to read my sequel.
What's the one road that goes like parallel to like what King's Dominion is? It's like 301 or something.
Yeah,
it's like a US
301.
route.
301. Yeah.
If I can take that, I'll do that, because that actually, even though it's more scenic and windy, don't deal with the craziness of the traffic. Because I hate 95.
I think 95 after Petersburg is pretty smooth sailing.
Yeah.
What I don't like is 85. I hate taking Interstate 85.
I don't know. 85 is bad, but it's not as bad as 95 is in my
And I don't like
estimation.
taking.
I'll take 81,
yeah.
and I'll take US 29. Like if I'm going like in like central North Carolina, or like the Asheboro area, like things like that, I'll just take 29 up. And it varies between you get town traffic, which is like 45, but it goes up to 70, and it's 2 lanes each side, but it's a huge median strip, and it's a nice scenic.
But 29 is also, if you're going to Charlottesville from our area, 29 is actually the fastest way to get to Charlottesville. A lot of people will go around taking. I remember we went down for an internship there. We took 66 to 81 through Harrisonburg and Stanton, and got to Charlottesville that way. And I had to go to Charlottesville again a second time, and I took 29, and we were there. And I don't think it took more than a couple of hours. I think maybe 3 hours at the most.
Yeah, old 29. That's an old road. It's one of the oldest roads in the country. But 95 is bad all the way, really, until you get to Fredericksburg and past Fredericksburg, especially between Fairfax and there's that.
Actually, it's all the way like that to Richmond. Actually,
you think so? Yeah.
So Richmond is bad in that area. If you go north of Richmond, there's about an hour between like Richmond and
Petersburg.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I guess Petersburg's in that area. It's okay. It's busy, but it's not like it's not terrible. But once you get past that, an hour south of the Beltway is where it starts getting crazy, and it just never lets up.
I think most of the time
it took me 5 hours to get from there to home. It takes me long, like you said, Dwight. It takes me as long to get from Richmond to home as it does to get from like Richmond to
anywhere in the
south, it seems.
Yeah.
No, it's like I also I have been taking that bypass route, because when you take 95 through the city of Richmond, you never know when there's some crash, because that curve as you're coming down, some idiot goes too fast in the rain, they hit their brakes, they spin out, and you're sitting in traffic.
Yeah,
I take the bypass. I can go 75, 80 miles an hour on the bypass, and it's not a problem.
Well, Dwight, I think it's interesting, though, and I know it means nothing to you at this point, but the fact that you mentioned that bridge, because the opening scene in my sequel, they talk about that bridge. He's going across that bridge. That is a beautiful bridge.
It's a beautiful bridge.
It's a unique architecture because it's got like a centerpiece.
Yep.
And not on the sides.
Yeah.
And it has a nice little incline. So when you're halfway through, you can see so far.
Yeah, it's a suspension bridge, basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not as impressive as the Bay Bridge, your Bay Bridge.
It's not near as big. Well, it's not near as big as the Bay Bridge.
How many miles is that, the tunnel? And that takes you over to Maryland, right?
The Bay Bridge?
Yeah, the Bay Bridge. That's the tunnel and the bridge. Does that take you into Maryland? Or, well, actually, the southern part of Virginia that's attached to Maryland on that side.
Okay.
That's where it takes you, I think. I think that's where it goes. I'm not sure where, but it's a big bridge. You can go into the middle, and they got the little area in the middle to stop. You can look to the left, and all you see is water.
Yeah.
But also, Congress is about to ban TikTok. I don't know why President Trump's against the idea of banning TikTok now.
Yeah, I think he switched his position.
Yeah.
On this one, Mark Warner is good on this one. Mark Warner is very much for banning.
But here's the thing. Will they abuse this power? You give them the power to ban, because you're.
This is not just about TikTok. This is about social media being able to, to
not only that,
flag anything that's controversial, and the president gives the president basically the power to say.
Could reckless Democrats one day decide, hey, we're going to ban heritage.org? Because we disagree with them?
It's kind of like the, what is it?
Slippery slope?
I want to say like Section 230 something. It's a thing that says, it's like moderation and content on social media platforms, where it's like the platform itself doesn't need to, is not responsible for the views expressed on the platform. they're just kind of trying to trample over that every way they can because, yeah, it's like, we saw that there was issues with Facebook with, dissemination of bad information.
Yeah.
And there was same thing with any social media platform is going to have some elements where they're going to just spread something which is going to be
YouTube's that way too.
yeah. But the point is that you don't hold the platform responsible for the users. You hold the users responsible for the content. And if it's something where the best thing you can do is say that we're going to require that in cases of investigation that we require these platforms to divulge certain information about the users. If they just said, we're worried about TikTok's, dissemination policy, then they can say, okay, well, if this is coming out, we want to, find out who is behind this, whether it is like in fact, the Chinese, the Chinese Communist Party, or if it's something else, then that's fine. And you can say, okay, we're going to, ban this content. You can do that. I mean, a bad example, but look at China. They got ChinaGate that bans content. It doesn't ban platforms per se, but it looks at the content for it. And I'm not saying we should do that. I'm just saying that there are ways to look at content on platforms and filter it by that. And when it comes down to it, a lot of the TikTok, hosting is done in the continental U.S., so it falls under U.S. domain. So we can apply those laws here and say that TikTok as an organization has to host all the user content within U.S. servers, and then make sure those servers are, under the jurisdiction of U.S. laws.
And
problem solved.
And here's the thing: we've got some of the smartest minds in the world living in the United States. Why can't we just build?
I live here,
I do too. Why don't we just build a competitor to TikTok? Frankly.
No, we don't. That's like saying build a competitor to Google or to,
Well, we got competitors.
Apple.
Well, we
don't have the kind of. There's not the environment for us to do that. I mean, unfortunately the large players, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, all those people will squash a U.S. built platform that competes with them. That's just how it is. I mean, unfortunately, TikTok became huge because it wasn't an American platform initially, and so it became large. And then it got ported over to the U.S. U.S. started using it, and there's like, okay, it's already big.
But honestly, I've looked at TikTok, right? I've seen what they have on TikTok. I would never want to waste time with TikTok. I mean, you could do the exact same thing with Instagram Reels, or is it Facebook Reels?
So okay, here's the thing. Each social media platform has a different demographic audience. For example, Facebook is designed. It's typically you reach out to people directly, friends, family, people that are in your social network, your own social network. Twitter is a lot more anonymous. For example, you just you find things you like, interest groups, and you join those, and you have a community that's not a geographically built community.
We broadcast
on topical built. Okay, well, that's X. I'm sorry, I say Twitter, but anyway. And YouTube is more of like a content platform where it's like it used to be like the public access channels. Now it's gone over to YouTube. So anyone who has got content is now really are the people who make YouTube possible. If it wasn't for people who made content, YouTube would not be a platform. Nobody wants to see YouTube shorts that are just like nothing. They don't go to YouTube to search for the latest viral memes. They go to YouTube because they have content creators who have interesting content that they like subscribing to. It's kind of like, public access TV when they had the free, interesting programs you'd see on, all the, I don't know, European, Canadian network. I remember as a kid getting, staying up late night watching these Canadian broadcasting programs on Channel 66. Again, just really fringe stuff, but it was interesting to me. That's what YouTube is.
Did you say Channel 56 or 66?
I was just saying 66 is static, but yeah,
56. They're both. 56 is Worldview Television.
Okay.
And they used to have a lot of international programs. They had a French program on there.
I said 66, but 56. But yeah, that was what I watched at night was that channel because it always had the weird stuff.
Channel 66 was actually from Hagerstown, Maryland, or someplace like that. Okay. And they used to have what was weird. They used to be a low powered station. Now they're like a must carry TV, but they used to carry things like Green Acres and all sorts of shows like that.
So what made TikTok famous was like, all the people who had like, it was like the young generation. It was kind of like people who would like Snapchat, Red Green show. Yeah, exactly. Red Green, very popular Canadian show. But anyway, so again, what made TikTok popular was it was kind of like people who went off Snapchat and were doing like these snaps, but had wanted a larger audience. And so they went to TikTok and they just like did these silly, stupid things. And it just kind of grew organically as kind of these kids doing stuff. And then it became a larger platform where people could just do like a 30-second to, now it's like larger, but, a little video clip that just has something there. So I like browsing TikTok now just because it has kind of, it's like Twitter with video.
And Twitter also has video too.
Well, I know, but you don't have like Twitter video feeds. TikTok is all video. Twitter is more topical, and yes, they have videos and such, but it's not designed to like, just give you video after video. Anyway, so I'm saying that there are reasons for each social media platform having a target demographic that grows it, but you can't just like say let's figure out what the next big thing is and build it. It almost has to grow organically from an interest, like why were there other platforms that people have used because they didn't like Facebook and other things because they felt like the free speech was being compromised. So they built a platform that competes with that. But it's because it's a niche platform. It doesn't really have the same kind of.
Look at Rumble. We tried to broadcast on Rumble a few weeks ago, right? So using their API and all that, it did not work. They need to make it. See, a lot of these, like BitChute, Rumble, they need to make it easy as it is for YouTube for us to stream there.
Well, you could broadcast on Twitch, but why? Nobody goes to Twitch to watch these kind of broadcasts.
What's another one? Twitch is for. Is it Outkick or is it Kick is the other one the kids are all using?
Well, Kick is kind of it's a mixed platform, but there is Kick, but I don't know who uses that actively.
I thought the kids
doesn't say like YouTube Kick. Nebula. There are alternatives to that as well, but like Twitch is a great streaming platform for people who like certain individual streamers, but this wouldn't be a good medium for our show. So between Facebook and YouTube, I think it's a good mix. But again, it's just one of those things you've got to understand, why these platforms are popular for what they are. And TikTok, like I said, there's nothing inherently wrong about TikTok or things that TikTok's doing for collecting data that other things are doing. What people are afraid of is because it's not an American-grown company. They're afraid that all the data that's collecting is now like not under U.S. jurisdiction.
PRC.
But that's not necessarily the case. All the U.S. servers that people connect to are under U.S. jurisdiction. So you can just simply say that in order to connect to TikTok, you have to connect to a U.S.-based server, and the U.S.-based server has to have a certain disclosure policy for data collects.
And I was looking at the countries that have banned TikTok. With the exception of, I think, the Indians, you have a lot of despotic regimes that are banning TikTok. But I just think
it's a very open platform, and people, I think those kind of areas don't want to have the free speech option to say.
And also, I think this is all like a power grab, frankly, for the most part. A power grab for Congress to abuse, and I supported the Patriot Act, and look at this. We had two Democrat presidents that abused the Patriot Act. I would love a lot of these laws to be changed when we change parties in the White House. Like the Patriot Act, it's great for a Republican president, but when a Democrat is president, I don't trust them with that power.
Well, think about how much money Facebook and Google and YouTube get from monetizing advertisements. That is how they make money. If TikTok is a competitor to those platforms, it's like saying all the advertising revenue that we normally would be paying these platforms, we're paying a different platform. Personally, I think it's just a lobbying thing where people just don't like the threat of TikTok not being a U.S.-based company, and they're just afraid of the loss of revenue in advertising. I think that's really what the problem is that they just think that it's taking away from what normally would people use for Facebook or other like YouTube Shorts, not realizing it's really a different platform.
It also, here's my other issue with TikTok is the way they're able to lobby. There were kids calling up their members of Congress threatening to commit suicide if Congress, it's like stuff like that's like what I mean. That my issue is look. I think TikTok is basically, and from what I've seen, like on television, it seems like most of the people on TikTok are just acting like fools. Kids being kids on TikTok.
It used to be, but I'm saying that TikTok nowadays, I mean, it depends on who you follow, but it's just like any other platform. It started off being more of like a youth-driven kind of thing, but now it's like you got people who provide actual interesting commentary and such on it. So it's
all the kids
smaller
are gonna be,
bits.
All the kids
It's
are going to be
basically
TikTok.
become Twitter with video. Like I said,
Yeah.
it was something different initially, but at this point, it's mature enough that it's not just the same. It's not the same demographic that it started off with.
Do you think President Trump's going to get a TikTok? You think he'll get on TikTok?
It's not really his platform. I think for him, the way he has his message, I think it's Twitter sound bites are better better platform his message than TikTok. I mean, I don't know. I think the at least the connotation of using TikTok is that you're kind of like not as taking it seriously, and so a lot of TikTok videos are not they're almost like tongue-in-cheek videos sometimes.
Yep.
It's more of an entertainment platform, so I don't think serious you don't see news agencies like you don't see NBC News or CNBC or those people or Fox News on Twitter or sorry on TikTok making announcements and such. That's just not how it's done. You may see people lampooning them on TikTok. You don't see the
only politician I know that uses TikTok is Joe Biden. Joe Biden's using TikTok, which is funny. But we are
starting a live stream with him on his motorcycle.
Yeah.
Or a sports car. Yeah.
We're at 7:56, so it's time for final thoughts. Let's start with you, Dave. Final thoughts. Go.
The book's coming well. The sequel, I'll be done very soon, in a matter of weeks. So, in basically 3 weeks, I wrote about 40,000 words. So it just came out of my mind, and I think it'll be good. So I'll let you know how that goes. But otherwise,
how's your Substack going, by the way?
That's suffered because I've been working on the book and I haven't been producing my columns like I need to do. So that's suffered. But I figure I'm almost done with the novel. Just get it out of the way, and then I can get it past me. So hopefully, in a matter of a week or two, I'll be done. So.
Oh, very good. Very impressive.
Yeah, and it's ironic you mentioned that bridge. That's the opening scene. The governor's driving down 295 to Hopewell, and
you should go and take a picture of that bridge for your cover.
Yeah, maybe, but it's you just mentioned that once. I don't know why I thought about that bridge, but it's a very nice bridge. But anyway, doing okay, and looking forward to spring. But that's about it.
Cool. Final thoughts, Chef.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's been such a long time since I've been on the show. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of curious to see how this whole election is going to go. I'm not really, I think people are almost kind of resigned at this point. I don't know if they feel like other elections, the whole, the early elections with Trump, I think were more like game changing. I don't know if this one is going to be that game changing. Well, these are the same players that we've seen before. I don't know if either party wins, if it's really going to change. I mean, put it this way: if Trump wins, I think it's going to be like how Trump was before. If Biden wins, it's going to be how Biden was before. I don't think it really is going to resonate. Really, I don't think either party really resonates with like new voters. So I'm really hoping that if Trump, if he gets a running mate, there's going to be someone who can revitalize the party by saying, okay, we have a new economic policy that we're going to go here. We're going to have a new energy policy that we're going to, really going to focus on. Or those kind of things.
President Trump has a very aggressive energy plan. I mean, it's drill baby drill to exploiting natural gas resources so we can supply to our friends. Joe Biden signed a thing to banning LNG, liquefied natural gas.
Well, okay, so even assuming that Trump wins and he wants to restart drilling,
it takes time to bring.
That's not going to happen in 4 years. I mean, we were close before, but when Biden kind of put the brakes on the pipeline, that's not something we can just restart up again. I mean, it's almost like sunk costs.
And here's one thing that happens. is that I'll throw it back to you, but it's like President Bush started the drilling and all that. Then Obama comes, stops everything President Bush did for 8 years. President Trump comes, commits to building the XL pipeline, drill, fracking, all the above solutions for energy independence. We were actually became a net exporting nation under Trump for gasoline. And then Joe Biden comes in, shuts down the XL pipeline, no more drilling, no more fracking, and we have $5 gas. That's how we get to $5 gas. But
Well, it puts us in. You know how I feel about this too. I think that our energy policy is a national security policy. That if we are dependent upon other countries for our energy, then it's a national security issue, because we're not secure in our own, capabilities if we have to depend on other countries for energy.
Very
That being
true.
said, I think that again, this is my personal thoughts. Yes, we should be energy independent from petroleum-based services, because even though I think we should be moving off of, gasoline, petroleum products for fuel, we're all going to need oil. We're going to need plastics, natural gas for heating. There's things we're going to always need, and planes are always going to run off of kerosene.
Yeah.
Rocket ships are going to fuel off kerosene, methane, various fuels like that. So we're always going to need these chemicals and such. But again, if we are going to kind of meet in the middle, I'm all for like electric vehicles. The problem is that that just shifts the generation of the power.
Without coal and nuclear, you can't power up those.
It shifts the generation of the power from the individual vehicle to the power plants, and in some cases that is a little more efficient. But then you have inefficiencies in the delivery and the storage of that energy. So it's really not a gain, as far as it doesn't make the planet any greener using electricity now than it does burning gasoline. The point is that if we want to pursue a proper energy policy, look at nuclear, whether it be next gen reactors, fission,
that's really what we need.
We have people like MIT developing the small fusion reactors. Start refunding, not refund, but funding again. Colleges to do nuclear energy research. We used to do that. We used to provide colleges like MIT and Berkeley and other places with money to do nuclear energy experiments and perform things that determine what are good sources of next generation energy. We're still using the light water pressure reactors that we were using back in the 60s. I mean, this is old tech. Imagine using the same kind of engines we built in the 60s for vehicles. It just wouldn't be efficient. So again, I'm not saying that it is the answer, but it's part of the solution. I'm not, there are different solutions for different sectors, but we need to be looking at this really as a part of a holistic energy policy, and we're not. And part of the thing is you need to get the American people back on board of saying, let's look at energy. And if people are worried about the Fukushima, kinds of explosions, you have to understand, again, those are older reactors, older technology, and the failure there was the failure of the generators, which basically did the chemical reclamation of the gases when the light water is split apart into oxygen and hydrogen. There's recombiners which put it back into water. Those recombiners failed because the generators failed, and so when it exploded, it was a chemical explosion. It was basically oxygen and hydrogen, boom. That was the explosion. It wasn't a nuclear explosion. It was a chemical explosion. Again, not to say that there are no accidents at all with nuclear, but you look at the per capita, death for nuclear, it's less than coal and even wind and solar. And those are more, again, if we're talking about wind and solar, we're still depending upon China for all the magnets and other types of technology that we're using for those things. So even though we're okay, it's like a green technology, we're still dependent on other countries giving us the materials to do this. Nuclear is something we can do in-house. We have the technology, we have the materials, we have whether it's thorium or uranium, we have that in-house in the country. We can build reactors. We can build safe reactors, whether it be light water or molten salt reactors, whatever. We can do that. But that's something that would help everyone. I mean, I think both Democrats and Republicans get on board saying this is something that is sustainable, it's green, and it's going to provide for alternative solutions. Again, if you want to do electric vehicles, fine. Now we have a clean source of energy that we can use.
And that's what I've always said. If environmentalists were honest, they'd be the first ones in line to push for nuclear power, frankly.
Well, you got India and China and other places looking at these technology because they need to. It's like it makes economic sense. So they are looking at this stuff.
Look at the Germans. The Germans had a whole network of nuclear power plants. And then the environmentalists, then they shut them down. And now they're dependent on Russian natural gas to keep them warm in the winter. They were chopping wood to stay warm, frankly.
And also to look at France. France has embraced nuclear, and they don't have those same kind of issues with their energy. So again, I could go out hours for this kind of stuff, but that's just my thing. Is that I think we need to have these kind of things. These the presidents with a vision. I understand. Make America great. I understand that, but we need to have a real vision of it.
And I hope President Trump
do it for the children kind of thing. Like think of the children. I think we need to be having that message where we say things suck now. Here's how to get unsucky. Here's what we can do for our future generations. Here's things that makes things better. Maybe not in our lifetime, but we're working towards a better, future life.
And the great thing is though, Jeff. When you look back, they say you'll laugh when you look back. It's kind of true because you look back at bad times, and they don't seem as bad as they were in the here and now, so to speak. Although my grandmother would disagree with that if she asked her about, say, the Depression eras and stuff like that, or living under, But anyways, any other thoughts, Jeff?
No, that's good.
My final thoughts are basically, go out, go to aagop.org and buy your tickets for the Lincoln Reagan dinner this Tuesday with Lee Zeldin, and then go and buy your tickets for Byron Donalds on Wednesday for the Baltimore City Lincoln Reagan dinner. 2 great speakers back to back. I mean, what more do you want? So that and we had a great time last night at Pi Day. Jessica Hare, great speaker. Jeff, I wish you were there. You really would have liked to talk about STEM education and a bunch of other fun stuff, But that's all for now. We'll see everyone next week. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.